Gideon Orkar was a major in the Nigerian army. In April 1991, he staged a violent coup to remove General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida from office as military head of state of Nigeria. He almost succeeded in his mission. His men had taken hostage of the residence of the head of state, and the head of state and his family were almost captured. Orka had taken control of Radio Nigeria and was already making a broadcast of his speech to the nation, and had removed some states in present-day northern Nigeria from Nigeria. While the coup announcement was running, Lieutenant General Sani Abacha, the then Chief of Army Staff and Babangida's right-hand man and most trusted ally, got in contact with the head of state to ensure that he was alive. Abacha then changed to combat gear and began to engage the coup plotters. He rallied a few loyal soldiers around and engaged in a devastating gun duel with the coup plotters. Abacha overpowered the coup plotters, and when the coup plotters came under intense heat, they retreated and ran away from the barracks. Gideon Orkar was stopped from making further broadcasts. He was then captured by Abacha's men. The coup fell, and Gideon Orkar and his men were made to face the consequence of the coup. In this edition of Back in History, we bring to you the full text of the speech of Lieutenant General Sani Abacha, who announced the truncation of the coup in his capacity as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the man who led some loyal soldiers to frustrate Gideon Orkar's coup. At the time of the speech, the head of state, who had escaped from the barracks with his family, was still in hiding, and following Abacha's speech, the head of state returned to the barracks to resume his authority as the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Here is a full text of Abacha's speech. Unquote. I, Lieutenant General Sani Abacha, Chief of Army Staff, Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff, have found it necessary to address you once again in the course of our nation's history. In view of the unfortunate development early this morning, I am in touch with the CGS, Service Chiefs, GOCs, FOCs, AOCs of the Armed Forces, and they have all pledged their unflinching support and loyalty to the federal military government of General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, who is perfectly safe and with whom I am in contact. Early this morning, there was sporadic firing by a few disloyal and misguided soldiers in some isolated parts of Lagos, followed by an embarrassing radio broadcast. Fellow Nigerians, you will all agree with me that the reasons given for this grave misconduct are significantly motivated by greed and self-interest. The soldiers involved decided to constitute themselves into national security nuisance for no other cause than base avarice. Most of these disloyal elements have been arrested and are already undergoing interrogation. The remaining dissidents are advised in their own interest to report to the nearest military location and hand over the arms and ammunition in their possession. All formation and unit commanders are hereby directed to exercise effective command and control. At this stage, let me reiterate our commitment to pursue vigorously the transition program. No amount of threat or blackmail will detract the federal military government's attention in this regard. We are set to hand over power to a democratically elected government in 1992. I wish to assure all law-abiding citizens that the situation is now under control and people should go about pursuing their lawful interests. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you. End of quotes. Shortly after Abacha's speech, President Babangida also addressed the nation in a national broadcast in the following words, quote, "Fellow Nigerians, I salute you all. First and foremost, let me assure you further that the unfortunate situation of this morning in some parts of Lagos has been brought under control by loyal troops, as earlier stated by the Chief of Army Staff and Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff, Lieutenant General Sani Abacha, with whom I have been in contact, and he is with me this evening. I also want to seize this opportunity to commend all members of the Nigerian Armed Forces, the Nigerian Police, the security agents for the gallant and professional manner the situation was contained. Let me also congratulate the civil populace for their continued support for this administration. I wish to state that all law-abiding citizens should go about their normal duties and their safety is guaranteed. Let me also assure the diplomatic community and all foreigners in the country that the security of their lives and property is hereby guaranteed. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you for your cooperation. End of quotes. Babangida's speech signaled the clear fact that Babangida was still alive and that the seat of power had not been taken over by the coup plotters. In essence, it was a failed coup. Babangida survived the attack and his administration was intact. Military formations in Lagos and across the nation were in firm control of the pro-Abacha elements. Ikeja cantonment was firmly under the control of Brigadier Ishaya Bameyi, a pro-Babangida and Abacha person, and Ojo cantonment was also firmly secured. Military governors at the various states of the Federation also pledged their support and loyalty to the regime and took steps to fortify their military formations in their states. Babangida's admirers were happy with the turn of events, but the coup plotters were shattered and totally unhappy with the situation, also knowing the consequence of what was awaiting them. Having brought the situation under control, the next line of action was to comb the city of Lagos and its environs for the coup plotters and their sponsors. Several of the coup plotters were arrested, detained, tried in military tribunal, and sentenced to death by firing squad or sentenced to life imprisonment, depending on their levels of involvement in the coup. Analysts have said that this is where Babangida's friendship with Abacha entered into another level. Abacha had every opportunity to have taken over the reins of power, but he refused to do so. He rather held on to the seat and made calls to Babangida to return to the barracks and resume his seat. In this action, Babangida saw genuine loyalty, sincerity, and true friendship in the man Lieutenant General Sani Abacha. Throughout his tenure in office, Babangida did not joke with Abacha. Babangida and Abacha had seen it all in the history of military governance in Nigeria. They both were in the military in January 1966 when the first military coup was staged in Nigeria, and were also in the military when the counter coup was staged in July of the same year. They were both in the military when the civil war occurred in Nigeria and lasted from 1967 to 1970. They also saw the various military interregnum in governance in the country. They were two of the most experienced high-ranking military officers in Nigeria in their time. Thanks for watching this episode of Back in History, and do remember to subscribe to the channel or follow the page for regular notification on every new video.